Before the sun broke over Lagos, before the rumble of the morning traffic, Julian's office remained eerily silent. The only sound was the hum of the air conditioner, a stark contrast to the frenzy of the city below. Julian, a successful billionaire, gazed at the CCTV monitor. His heart was heavy, and his mind distant. On the screen, his daughter Amara, with her condition, sat on the floor with the new nanny, Mary. Amara's joy, so rare, tugged at his heart in ways nothing else could. Amara had cerebral palsy, and Julian had always felt helpless. His wealth, once a symbol of his victory over poverty, couldn't fix this. Yet on the screen he saw something different. Mary's touch, her soft words, and the way she made Amara laugh. It was a glimpse of hope that Julian hadn't realized he was starving for. As Mary wiped a tear from Amara's cheek, speaking softly, "You are not broken, Amara. You are perfect just the way you are." Julian's heart cracked. He wasn't prepared for this. The raw emotion of seeing his daughter smile so freely in someone else's care. For the first time in years, he saw a new possibility. A quiet, unexpected joy that filled him with a longing for something deeper. Before now, Julian's life was not always this way. He was a child of hardship, raised in the small, dimly lit apartment of Lagos, where his mother, Ngozi, worked tirelessly to make ends meet after his father's sudden death. His mother's sewing machine was the constant hum that filled their home, and their tiny meals were always served with the aroma of jollof rice. From a young age, Julian was determined to break free from the shackles of poverty. He studied hard, securing a scholarship to one of the best universities in the city. He swore to never be like his father, distant and unable to provide. His success in business became his escape. With every deal closed, every company he built, he distanced himself from the life he'd left behind. But when Amara was born with a disability, everything he had worked for felt insignificant. The dreams of a perfect family, of taking his children on trips and playing football with them, vanished. Amara's condition broke him in ways he couldn't fix with money. The love he had for her was genuine, but guilt, anger, and fear clouded his heart. His wife, Ruth, withdrew into herself, and he buried himself in his work. In a moment of serendipity, Julian found Mary, a woman whose kindness and strength broke through his emotional walls. But their growing connection posed a threat to Julian's already fractured marriage. Ruth warned him, "Be careful, Julian. Gold that shines too bright can burn your hand." Their paths crossed more often, and over coffee in small cafes by the beach, Julian began to confide in her. She shared stories of her own struggles with gender bias in her career, and Julian found himself drawn to her strength and warmth. She wasn't just the nanny who cared for his daughter. She was a reminder of the life he could have had if he allowed himself to be vulnerable. As Julian and Mary's bond deepened, Ruth became suspicious, and their marriage deteriorated. Yet Julian couldn't ignore the peace Mary brought to Amara's life. He had to choose between staying in a broken marriage or allowing himself the chance for emotional freedom. Ruth's warning to him stayed in his mind, but Julian began to realize that this emotional connection with Mary was about more than just a romantic interest. It was a chance to heal. But Ruth's continued withdrawal and the pressure from his professional world complicated the situation, pulling Julian between his past obligations and his present feelings. The betrayal came swiftly. One night, Julian overheard Ruth on the phone, her voice trembling with disbelief. "I saw how he looked at her. It's more than just care, Ruth. You don't see it, but I do." Ruth's words crushed him. He rushed home, only to find their home empty, cold. Ruth had left, taking everything with her. Julian's world collapsed. His professional success meant nothing. The cold walls of his mansion felt like a prison. He'd lost the woman he loved, and now the only thing that mattered, Amara, was in danger of being lost too. His guilt, his mistakes were consuming him. For weeks, Julian withdrew into his work, numb. But eventually, something inside him shifted. He realized he had been passive, letting life happen to him instead of making it happen. He consulted his lawyers, orchestrating a plan to regain custody of Amara. He no longer viewed Mary as just a nanny, but as someone who truly understood his daughter's needs. With every legal maneuver, Julian promised himself that he would not lose Amara, no matter what. He would rise from this, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Julian sat across from Ruth. Their lawyers exchanged heated words, but it was Mary's testimony that tipped the scales in Julian's favor. She spoke not of legalities, but of love, the real, unbreakable bond between Amara and Julian. Ruth broke down, her facade crumbling as the judge ruled in Julian's favor. He had won custody of Amara, but it wasn't a legal win. It was a win for love, for redemption. However, it was a bittersweet victory, as Julian knew there was still much to be done to rebuild his family. In the weeks that followed, Ruth withdrew from Julian's life. The home that once echoed with the sound of their arguments now stood silent. But in the quiet, Julian found solace in Mary and Amara. Slowly, he learned how to love in a way that was unselfish. He began repairing his relationship with his mother, seeking comfort in the simple, everyday moments of life. In a small family gathering, Julian introduced Mary to his mother, Ngozi. The atmosphere was simple, warm, and filled with the kind of love that had eluded him for so long. The past was painful, but it no longer defined him. He wasn't perfect, but he was learning to be a father, a partner, and a man of integrity. As they sat together, the future seemed uncertain, but Julian no longer feared it. The healing wasn't instantaneous, but it was real, and for the first time in years, Julian felt at peace.